Karibuni sana to today's session. We are going to be introducing our guest shortly, but before we do, my name is Maryanne Wanjiru, and I just want to introduce us so that you don't wonder from which planet are these people from. We are a personal brand initiated by myself, Maryanne Wanjiru, and I'm a trauma-informed multi-gifted psychologist. Our vision is to inspire originality, and we do this by creating positive mental health content, education, and entrepreneurship, where we sell retail products inspired by the brand. Some of our services, they include, but they are not limited to, we offer mental health consultations, we offer psychology brand partnerships, we offer trainings, we offer speaking engagements, and we also offer youth mentorship. Very shortly, we are going to share the links. We'll be communicating with you in the chat box where you can join us on our WhatsApp group so that you are able to follow through with what we are doing today and also get in touch with us. These are our social media platforms. We are available on Instagram. We are available on Facebook as originally_Maryanne. On Facebook, it's originally Maryanne. On X, it's originally_NA. On TikTok, you can find me at originally_Maryanne. On LinkedIn, originally Maryanne. YouTube, originally_Maryanne TV. And we have our WhatsApp community, which I'm going to be sharing the link to join us shortly. It's called the Originality Tribe. And there's a whole theory about who we are and what we do, but we are going to that's why we're encouraging you guys to join us in the link once we share, so that you may be able to follow us with the work that we do. It's a lot, but we'll not get into that tonight. I conclude, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. Before I introduce my guest, I want to say that to share this thought with you, that there is only one investment that will never go down, and that is the investment in yourself. So congratulations for making it into this session. Well done. You will pat on your back once you're able to follow through up to the very end. And with that said, I want to take this opportunity to introduce not only a colleague of mine, but a very good friend, John Wanjiru. And I do not mean to hype him in any way. He's a genuinely very good professional. John Wanjiru is a mental health trainer with over 10,000 hours of clinical practice. He has a rich background in research, psychology, and data analysis. He is also an experienced writer who merges insights from his areas of expertise to write compelling pieces, and some of his work has been featured in Standard newspaper and Nivishe Foundation. He strives to empower and educate the public on ways to achieve holistic well-being. And with that said, without much further ado, please help me welcome this amazing guest, John Wanjiru. Karibu sana, John. Please take over. Let us clap for him. Thank you. Let us encourage our speaker for today. Feel free to use the emojis right there. Yeah, thank you, Elsie. I see you guys. Thank you. Karibu sana, John.
Thank you. Am I audible from the end?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, my machine has refused to open video, so I'm going to give you a glimpse of who I am using my phone. Then I'm going to continue without using my video. Let me do that. Start introducing on the slides. I want us to think about, have you ever met someone who is antisocial? Maybe we can start with Maryanne. Have you ever met someone who is antisocial?
I think I have. I have a lot of them.
Okay, how do they look like? How do they behave?
The one situation that is coming to mind is for those of us who go to events and we don't talk to people, we are always on our phone, and we prefer being on our phones instead of talking to the people who are around us.
Okay, good. Any other person who has ever met someone who is antisocial? Maybe as we evaluate if we have ever met such a person, you're going to learn, we're also going to learn about who is maybe what type of a person is someone considered to be antisocial. So we're going to start, today we'll be understanding narcissistic personality disorder, and it should not be a clinical approach. I'll try to use a friendly approach so that each and every one of us will have a good understanding of what narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder is. Please proceed to the next slide. So this story or legend that is told of Echo and Narcissus. Maybe as before I share the story, maybe you can try to look at the beautiful image and you can try to pick out some attributes. What can you see from the picture on your right?
I guess I can see there's somebody who's leaning on to a pond or to drink some water.
Yeah, okay. Any other person or else can you see?
Hey John.
Yes.
The guy lying on the rock is looking at his image in the water.
Yes, someone is looking at the image, and then there's someone who is unmuted and they are making a lot of noise. Thanks, Finda. Yes, there's someone who is looking at the water. Then we have a lady who is standing opposite the guy who's looking at himself on the water. So the story is told of Echo and Narcissus. Narcissus is the guy. He was in love with himself, and for many years he could not be able to see what he looked like. Back then we didn't have mirrors, and one day there also existed someone else who was called Echo. Echo could not speak, but she could be able to repeat what someone else could articulate. So Echo fall in love with Narcissus, who had already fallen in love with himself. So he could follow Narcissus everywhere. And Narcissus found himself on a boat, and he started to he saw his image on the water, and he fell in love with himself. And he said it, "I love you." And because of his obsession with himself, he could not hear Echo repeating back the words, "I love you." And the story ends sadly that Narcissus spent his entire life there on the board and died. The same happened to Echo. Echo went into a state of depression, and she also died. So the legend goes that Narcissus was transformed into a flower, the flower on your left, and hence the term narcissist. Narcissist comes from this particular legend. We're going to learn about this, and by the end of this session, you'll be able to understand if you are the Narcissus or the Echo in your life. You'll be able to understand where you are or maybe where you're not. Please proceed to the next slide. So personality disorders are long-term maladaptive behavior patterns and relating to other people. Find that you have maladaptive behavior patterns and the way you relate with other people is maladaptive. And this cuts across all dimensions of life. That is occupational, social relationship, romantic relationships, job engagement. Find that you have a problem relating with other people. And a crucial thing to note about personality disorder is that they're egocentric. That means that whatever they do, their behavior that they portray to the world is acceptable to them. It doesn't cause any distress to them, even though it affects other people in a huge proportion. And the other thing to note about people with personality disorders is that they also are aplastic. Aplastic means that they don't adjust themselves. It's not me who has a problem, it is the world which has a problem. So I need to adjust the world to fit my internal standards. This reminds me of a case of a guy called Proctus in Greek mythology. This guy used to adjust his victim to fit a bed, an iron bed that he had. So if the victim was long, he could trim off the legs. If the victim was short, he could try to pull the victim to fit in that particular bed. So that's how, especially narcissists and other personality disorders we're going to learn today, adjust the environment to fit the internal standard other than the other way around. Am I still audible? Are you still together up to that point?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Please proceed to the next slide. Prevalence of personality disorders in the general population. Maybe something worth noting is that personality disorders are rarely diagnosed, especially in an African setup, even in the global setup, because as you have said, they are egocentric and aplastic. It means that their behavior is not bad for them, even though it's affecting other people in their environment. So personality disorders occur in 10 to 20% of the general population, and approximately half of all psychiatric cases have personality disorders. As you shall note, there are 3 different clusters, different types of personality disorders: cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. You're going to learn that most of them are mostly found with people with psychiatric disorders. For example, a key personality type, for example, antisocial personality disorder, is likely to be found among individuals who have alcoholism. And we're going to discuss about that. And then NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, occurs between 1% to 6% of the population. This is still a huge number. And remember, they are not usually diagnosed. So that means that this is a misrepresentation of the narcissistic personality disorder cases that exist in the real world setting. Proceed to the next slide. What really causes these personality disorders? One of the key causes of these personality disorders is genetics. We find that individuals who have narcissistic personality disorders and other disorders are likely to get these predisposition from their families. And especially when they have a history of psychiatric illness. As you have seen, that 50% of the cases are found among individuals with psychiatric illness. The other risk factor is biological factors, one of which is hormones. And a key contributor is testosterone. Testosterone is an androgen. It plays a key role in motivation and aggression. And people with especially antisocial personality disorder and narcissism, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, have high levels of testosterone. This makes them impulsive. Someone who is impulsive is likely to do things in a rushy way. For example, they are likely to be more violent, more reactive when they are provoked. And something worth noting is that testosterone by itself is not responsible for aggression. Testosterone is changed to estrogen. Estrogen is a precursor, is a component that is responsible for aggression, not testosterone itself. The other thing is neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are brain messages that are present in your brain. They help to communicate information, to relay information from one neuron to the other. And individuals with personality disorder, especially NPD, because today we're talking about NPD, narcissism, have high secretion of dopamine. Dopamine is a reward molecule that plays a key role in motivation, reinforcement, movement, attention. So when it is secreted in high levels, it makes them super excited about things. And this maybe will be related to some of the things we're going to learn about people with NPD. They have a history of promiscuity. These can be attributed to high levels of dopamine. And then we have endorphins. Endorphins are natural painkillers for the body. For example, when you are sick, when you have an injury, your body produces endorphins. Endorphins are like morphine or any other painkiller. They try to help you manage the pain. And individuals with NPD and antisocial personality disorder have high secretion of endorphins. That means they are more resistant to pain. Them having a lot of endorphins means that they are more resistant to feeling pain, be it emotional or psychological. And then we have psychosocial factors. One of which is substance abuse. Something worth noting is that psychosocial factors don't cause narcissism, but they are risk factors. For example, individuals with alcohol use disorder and heroin use disorder are likely to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder because the drugs do make them more impulsive and more reactive. And as we shall see, as we continue learning about NPD, you're going to learn that a narcissistic person is an injured child who didn't get enough attention. So all his life, he'll be looking for that attention that he didn't get at the crucial time of development. So he's likely to be doing three of these things. One of it is projection. he or she will be projecting a lot. Projecting is a defense mechanism where you attribute your difficulties to other people. For example, let's say you are violent, or you have violent tendencies. You're likely to say, Jane, Peter, Mwangi is aggressive, not me. Jane is aggressive. Maryanne is aggressive, not me. That is what you call projection. And then there is interjection. Interjection is the reverse of that. The interjection is taking what is projected onto you. Maybe someone is projecting aggression on you. You take that aggression and you adopt it as your own value or your own attribute. That's what you call interjection. And then you have identification with the aggressor. Identification with the aggressor means that you're identifying someone who is doing a particular aggressive behavior. For example, your dad is aggressive. Your dad is aggressive. You're likely to find that someone will tell you, hey, you're aggressive just like your dad. Ama, you can say, I'm aggressive just like my mom or my dad. That's what you call identification with the aggressor. And you're going to learn that narcissists are likely to identify with the aggressor, especially the note point that I've indicated. When the parents are narcissistic, they have high expectations on their child. They impose grandiose or unrealistic expectation. I want you to bring A's. I want you to be beautiful. I want you to do what? I want you to be this. And this unrealistic expectation to this child might make him or her a narcissist. Plus, remember, he or she has a genetic predisposition. I hope we're still together. Please proceed to the next slide. We have different types of personality disorders. They are classified under 3 clusters: cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. So there is a particular naming that I use, and I hope someone else uses out there to classify these personality disorders. You have cluster A. Cluster A we call, quote unquote, the mad personality disorders. Cluster B is the bad. And you can see the last person on that particular cluster B is the NPD. The last person on the cluster B is NPD. And we're going to learn why that category is named bad. And then you have the third category that is named sad. So cluster A, when you talk about mad, is that these people with these personality disorders, most of them are within individuals who have psychiatric disorders. So for example, you have paranoid personality disorders. These guys usually present with suspicious and trusting thoughts. You're always suspicious that you are onto something bad. For example, you can have a pathological jealous spouse. He or she will always be thinking that you are cheating. And in most cases, you'll find that they'll be looking on your phone, and they are the kind of guys that will put a tracker on your phone. The paranoid type. And then you have the schizoid. Schizoid, they lack interest with relationships. And that means that they don't like having relationship or interacting with other people. And they are unemotional. Unemotional means that someone will say something funny, you're supposed to respond by smiling, but you find that they don't respond. Schizoid and schizotypal personality disorders are mostly found with people with schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a psychiatric illness under psychotic disorders. And also and another psychiatric illness called psychotic disorder called schizoaffective. Those two categories, schizoid and schizotypal, are mostly diagnosed with individuals with those two psychiatric psychotic disorders. They have schizotypal. These people have difficult forming close bonds with other people, close relationships. And something to note about them is that they have strange beliefs. They believe that they can control other people. They can make things happen. I made it rain. I made it shine. I made the car come. They have these particular strange beliefs that they can make things happen, which is wrong, which is not true. And that's why this category A, cluster A, is classified as quote unquote mad. Then we go to cluster B. In the introduction, I asked if you have ever met someone who is antisocial. And most of us, especially for us who are not in the psychological field, misuse this term, antisocial. And I want us from today to be able to spread this message. Your introverted friend is not antisocial. Your introverted friend is not antisocial. Your introverted friend is not antisocial. They're just introverted, reserved. You know, the guys we call antisocial are the psychopath and the sociopath. So if you think your friend is antisocial, you should run away from that friend. You should run away from that friend, because being antisocial means that these guys disregard rules. They disregard laws of other people. They lack remorse. That means they can do something and do it again and again and again. They don't have guilt. And this is, as usual, maybe I'm not going to touch much on that, but their prefrontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex is a region on your brain that is directly behind your forehead. There are some neurochemical changes that happens to those individuals that make it them hard for them to process emotion, especially an area in that particular part that is called anterior cingulate cortex. They are likely to engage in lying, stealing, aggression, and violence. Most of these people spend their life in prison. And as I said in the beginning, antisocial personality disorder is also commonly diagnosed with individuals with alcohol use disorder and other drug use disorders. And then you have the histrionic type. I don't know, this type is very common. These guys are very emotional and dramatic. They have high need for attention. They clearly like seeking attention. These are the kind of guys for us who goes to church. These guys will wait when the church is settled and they're going to walk with high heels and will be making some noises as they walk. They want everyone to turn around and look at them. These are the same guys that will come to class once everyone has settled. They're seeking attention. They love praise. They love to be praised. They love approval. They're also very seductive. They like to make any relationship, even though professional, to look romantic. Yeah. And then they have borderline personality disorder. These people are also very quote unquote bad. Yeah, it's hard to interact with them. They fear being abandoned. These are the kind of, maybe if you're into a relationship with them, you're going to say, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. They are prone to emotional outburst, self-harm, and self-destructive behavior. They have a very fragile self. If you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. If you leave me, I'm going to do something bad. If you leave me, I'm going to do whatever. They're very fragile. The people with borderline personality disorder. And then the last part in the B category, the bad category, is NPD. We're going to delve much on that. That is, these people have inflated self-esteem. They are grandiose. They have grandiosity. They believe they are God. They have something called the God complex. They believe they are better than other people. We're going to discuss more on NPD. Please proceed to the last slide on SAD, the SAD category. The last category of personality disorder, we call them the SAD. These people live sad lives, as the name suggests. One of it is avoidant personality disorder. Avoidant personality disorder. As the name suggests, they're very sensitive to criticism. They're very sensitive to criticism. They don't like to be rejected, to be criticized. They are very shy, extremely. And these guys are like the opposite of NPD. They have a inferiority complex. They believe they are no one. These are the kind of people that needs motivation, even to do the most basic thing, because they believe they are no one and they should not show up for themselves. And as I had mentioned, they live a very sad life. You can imagine someone who lacks even a small feeling of self-worth. And as I mentioned, 50% of these disorders are diagnosed with people with psychiatric illness. This is a key thing in people with depression or MDD, major depressive disorder. They are able to feel like they are not worth it. And in some cases, they attempt suicides. And then you have obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And maybe before I talk about, if by mentioning, as I've been mentioning most of these personality types, you realize that some attributes can relate to you. For example, I relate with a little bit with OCPD. Personally, I relate a little bit with the OCPD. I'm going to share a little bit about that. You can realize that in all three in all the three clusters, you might have maybe something that you can relate with that particular personality type. For example, personally, when you talk about OCPD, I'm obsessive compulsive personality disorder. These guys are focused on rules, orderliness, value work, and above other aspects of life. They are perfectionist and controlling. And one of the things that I can pick from that list is perfectionist and order. I think personally I like to keep my word orderly. I like to have a particular schedule, and I like to perfect the things I do. For example, I write on a weekly basis. Every week I'm always challenging myself to think hard, to come up with better pieces, and that keeps me writing and keeps me moving. And something to know that if you have two attributes of a particular personality disorder, that doesn't mean you have that personality disorder. For example, you might be shy, but you don't have all other characteristics, for example, of APD. That means that you don't have APD. And I don't want us to start diagnosing ourselves and saying you have NPD, we have DPD, and any other. You have to meet what we call in our field the diagnostic criteria. You cannot just have obsessive compulsive personality disorder just because you have perfectionist, just because you crave rules, just because you're orderly. It's important for us to be aware of that. And then you have lastly, dependent personality disorder. These guys are very fearful of being alone. They fear being alone and they want to be taken care of. And this category might resonate with someone with depression or mostly depression. Sometimes these guys they fear being alone because it's terrifying for them. They need someone to be around. And maybe something else worth noting about personality disorders is that you can have several of them. You can be diagnosed with several of them. For example, you can be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder. And you may also have other attributes of other personality disorders. Let's proceed to the next slide. In case there are questions, I'm going to tackle them at the end. Our focus will shift to NPD. And today I'm not going to delve much on the diagnostic criteria. I want us to understand narcissism in the way a common person or a lay person can be able to identify their boss, their partner, their mother, their parent, their friend, their boyfriend, their girlfriend has some narcissistic tendencies. As we have mentioned, most these people are egocystonic and aroplastic. That means that their behaviors are good. In short form, their behaviors are good even though they are affecting other people. And aroplastic, as I said, means that they cannot adjust themselves, they adjust to you. You're part of their environment. And that's the most attractive part about them. And a key characteristic of narcissism is superficial charm and charisma. And maybe this for ladies, guys who are narcissistic are very charming to young, naive ladies. These are the kind of guys who are going to treat you like the fairy tales, you see, or like the movies you see. Once first you approach them. I remember I interacted with this case of a lady who had a narcissistic boyfriend. This particular guy used to go to the office with the champagne and flowers every day and pick her. But she used to abuse her. And this particular lady could not convince the co-workers that this guy was a narcissist. How can you? All the ladies, all the people in the workplace, they love the guy because the guy comes every day with gifts for people and champagne and flowers. Yeah, they're very charming and have a sense of charisma. And the other thing is that they have grandiosity. Grandiosity means that everything about them is inflated. They They have grandiose thoughts. They are going to tell you, I'm going to take you to Maldives. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Everything about them is grandiose. The other thing is they lack empathy. Empathy is that ability to get into the shoe of another person. For example, someone who is suffering, someone who is empathetic should be able to put themselves in their shoes and be able to see the pain they are undergoing and offer the appropriate help that they might be able to do at that particular time. But these guys lack empathy. As we shall see that some of the narcissists, especially the type 1 called the migrants, are very successful. But imagine someone who doesn't care about other people. If it is in business, if it's whatever they are doing, they're going to do everything possible to achieve their grandiose ideas, visions. And some of these guys are being politicians and they hold seats of power. I don't think that the narcissists are just the poor people just down there. Some of these guys hold power. The other characteristics of narcissists is that they chronically seek validation and attention. They want to be seen. They want to be heard, even when other people should be seen. These are the kind of guys that will come to your project, contribute 1%, and take the credit. They lack empathy, they are grandiose, and they want admiration. The other thing is tendency to rage, some of violence. As I had mentioned to that kid, they can be abusive. And one of the key things I want us to think about, in most of the gender-based violence, if you find a man who is beating a lady and they are not drinking alcohol, most of the time these guys are narcissists. If this guy is beating the wife every day or has a pattern and they're not drinking alcohol, most of the time they are likely to be narcissists. The other one is entitlement. They own you. Yeah. They are special. They need special treatment. Yeah. The other characteristic is a tendency to manipulate other people and exploit other people. As I mentioned, they can be successful because they can exploit anyone to get there, to achieve their grandiose thoughts. And I was reading about this concept and I thought of linking these particular narcissism to something called operant conditioning. So operant conditioning was developed by a guy called B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner put 2 pigeons on a cage, and he had a lever. Every time the pigeon could press the lever, the pigeon would get some food. And he was doing that for both of the pigeons, but he decided to change some things for the second pigeon. He started to make reward inconsistent, what we call partial reward system, a schedule. So sometimes pigeon could press the lever, but food could not come out. Until it fell down out of exhaustion. This is the same tactic that narcissists use. Their reward pattern is partial, inconsistent. They treat you good today, and then they can treat you bad 10, 20 times, then they reward you. For example, a narcissist might cheat, apologize, and show remorse that they will not repeat again. Be good for 2 weeks and then cheat again. And continue such a pattern. They use this partial reward system. And something to know is that fuckboys also use this. And it's very addictive to anyone. Yeah. This category of people, we term them as fuckboys. They use this particular reward pattern. They are partial reward schedules, and it's very, 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 very addictive. You can easily get addicted to that person who is offering such a reward. As I mentioned, the pigeon could press the river until it fell out of exhaustion. And it even forgot that it was pressing the river to get the food and continue to press the river. This is what you call operant conditioning. And lastly, they are also good critic. They gaslight you and project, as I had mentioned on projection. Let's proceed to the next slide. Am I still audible? Are we still together? We can get some reactions.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I hope the team can be able to. Thank you. So, a major difference between narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism or narcissistic tendencies. I want us to, this session was not focusing much on NPD. For you to be considered to have NPD, a narcissistic personality disorder, you have to be diagnosed by a psychiatrist. And a person with narcissism, all the attributes we have mentioned, can be considered to be NPD. But an NPD person cannot consider to be, let me paraphrase what I mean again. A person with narcissistic personality disorder, they have to be diagnosed by a psychiatrist. But someone with narcissistic tendencies can be with them without having a diagnosis. As we said, the symptoms, the grandiosity, the entitlement, they are not bad for them. They are bad for other people. So they may end up not going for medical diagnosis. So one can be the other, but the other cannot be the other. For example, someone with narcissism cannot be considered to have NPD, but someone with NPD can be considered to have narcissism. I hope I was very clear on that. The other major difference between ego and self-confidence. This was one of the questions that was featured during our, as we are keying data from you people, is that ego comes from the outside. Ego comes from the outside. Hey, you can do it. When mzee, when mbaba, those particular words, they seek validation. They seek admiration. It's getting from the outside. These are the kind of people who want to be praised for doing even absolutely nothing. I recently saw a joke on LinkedIn now. I started creating content on LinkedIn. I saw a joke that someone anaangusha kijiko and then makes a post all about the key lessons they learned from that. It's hysterical when you think about that. A simple kijiko falling incident is translated into a LinkedIn post to encourage other people to, I don't know what, such a pattern is seeking validation or admiration. And then you have self-confidence. Someone who is self-confident, they believe in themselves. They believe in themselves. And a key thing to note is that someone who is egoistic, or sometimes they're not competent, but someone who has self-confidence, they are competent. Someone with ego, someone who has an ego, most of the time they are not very competent. But someone who is self-confident, they are very confident. They are very competent. They know what they are doing. So they don't need to seek the validation and admiration from the outside. It's worth noting that. So it's a question to you. Are you the ego type or are you the self-confident type? And maybe something else to note is that people with self-confidence can be able to stay for sometimes outside public and still be able to function. Someone with self-confidence can be able to retreat or withdraw from the public and be able to function because they are competent and they believe in themselves. But someone with an ego, they cannot be able to survive on themselves once they withdraw because they need the crowd to be always cheering onto them. I hope that was understood, was well understood. We can proceed to the next slide. You can react if you have been able to understand that. Thank you. Types of narcissists. You have many types, but today I'm going to cover 4 main types. You have the malignant or the toxic narcissist. These are near to antisocial personality disorder, these guys. They are near to the class category that we call the psychopath or the sociopaths. These guys have a grandiose self-importance. They believe they are God. They are aggressive. They are sadism. They are sadist. And then they have antisocial behavior. They can steal, they can lie, they can break laws. As you can see from the word malignant, for example, in hereditary diseases, we have malignant means it's an open cancer that can spread everywhere. So using the same analogy, these people with the toxic narcissists are like cancers. If you allow them into your life, they suck you in and destroy your life. And as I mentioned, some of these guys end up in political positions and hold power. And then we have the second type, we have the grandiose stroke the overt narcissist. This particular type has been amplified by the emergence of social media. They are called the show-off type. They excel in bragging and showcasing. These are the kind of guys you find on Facebook, TikTok, advertising they eat pizza, advertising they had a birthday party, what, and what are they showcase everything. What they are cooking, what their girlfriend, everything. Like they're always bragging about something. And if you look at the thing they're bragging about, sometimes it's very negligible. But they need that. They need the likes, the comments, the engagement, so that they can be able to function. Because they are egoistic. They need validation and admiration. And then you have the covert or the vulnerable narcissist. And this is a key type that you should watch out in your life. These are the reverse of the grandiose. They play small. They are the victim. And especially if they have a disorder or a small problem, they over-exaggerate it. They need care. They need attention. These are the kind of guys that are likely to say, people don't understand me. I'm special. I need special treatment. And other conclusions of things that they come up with. And they're very toxic. If you accommodate such a type, they're going to drag you down because they suck on your energy. They don't want to see you achieving because that is not what they want. Sometimes they do things to ensure that they stay vulnerable. Everyone can be able to sympathize with them. These are the covert of the vulnerable narcissist. And then we have the communal narcissist. This type has also been done by the emergence of social media. These are the saviors category. They are always looking for something to save. They volunteer everywhere. You are likely to see them in everything that is happening. And the key thing to note is that their altruism is not for the sake of doing good, it's the sake of being seen. Most of these guys are likely to be posting about everything they do. If they donate funds, they're likely to say, I donated funds. Praise me, admire me, validate me. These are the kind of communal narcissist. Maybe something to note is that the other types, for example, the somatic group specialize in focusing on their body. As the word soma. Soma comes from soma means body. Somatic, they specialize on two things, ensuring that their body is beautiful and health. These are the kind of guys that are likely to attempt using any type of beauty product. They're always looking for what is new and apply a little foundation and I don't know, all those things and over exaggerate them, and even the time they are not supposed to be overdoing them. Yeah, somatic. Then we have the cerebral, and as I mentioned, some of these symptoms you might resonate with, and it is okay as long as you are not fitting the full criteria. It is okay to identify with one or two symptoms as long as you're not fitting the whole criteria. And then we have cerebral. Cerebral from the word, it means brain. This category of people, they read a lot. They read a lot and spend a lot of time acquiring knowledge, not for the sake of acquiring knowledge, but for showing off. Yeah, they show off that they are knowledgeable. They are also like the kind of guys that are likely to use grandiose terms in their articulation and communication. And maybe I resonate with that type a little bit. You have the self-righteous narcissist. The self-righteous narcissist, these kind of guys they are likely to be moralists. They are likely to be affiliated.
Though I think your audio is breaking kidogo.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back now.
Yes.
I think my internet buffered a little bit Wait for that. Let me proceed. I was mentioning about the self-righteous type. This type are likely to be more affiliated with religious institutions. They're likely to always appear righteous. From this list. Proceed to the next slide. Yeah, so most of these are NPD and narcissism also sometimes coexist with other disorders. One of it is bipolar disorder, another one is depression, drug use disorders, for example, alcoholism and promiscuity. As I mentioned, especially people with narcissism, they are likely to have grandiose ideas about their beauty, how they look, so they are likely to test out. So they may find themselves in a promiscuous cycle. And then because of their impulsivity, they are likely to use drugs and alcohol. Proceed to the next slide. Treatment and management. Something worth noting is that I had mentioned that NPD is a narcissistic personality disorder is rarely diagnosed in the general population. So that means that most of the people with narcissistic tendencies exist in the general population. They don't know they have a problem. They just discover that other people have a problem with them, and so they adjust them. As I said there, most of them are paralytic. They adjust other people instead of adjusting themselves. And the other thing is that with NPD or narcissistic tendencies in general are very difficult to deal with. I remember back then I had this client who had these narcissistic tendencies. Doing therapy, having the Paybill session with them is really hard because you cannot pinpoint anything about them
Excuse me, a little bit, John.
Yes? You're breaking.
Your audio is breaking kidogo.
Okay. You know what's wrong with the internet? Let me see. Power some devices so that. Is it clear now?
I am not sure. We can ask the guys who are here. And can you be able to hear John clearly? And Caroline?
She's breaking.
Sorry?
She's breaking.
Yeah.
And now, am I audible enough now?
Yes, I think now
Yes.
we can hear. Yes.
Okay. I think the internet is buffering. I was mentioning about NPD cases. I had a case of a client who had NPD, who had narcissistic tendencies. They were not diagnosed with NPD, so they were very difficult. You know, you go to a session and you mention a behavior attribute they have is not that is dysfunctional, that is, and then they fire back and the session is chaotic. Once you're done with the 1 hour session, you cannot see any other client and you're totally tired. They are very, very difficult clients to deal with, especially people with narcissism, because they have not saying they have a problem. So they means that you, the therapist, or you, the other guy, is the one who has a problem. So they need to fix you. And that becomes problematic. CBT and CBT. CBT is a cognitive behavior therapy, is a therapeutic technique that uses the association between thoughts, beliefs, and actions to enhance to facilitate behavior modification. And then you have DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. This was mostly used in treatment of bipolar. It is used in treatment of bipolar, but it has proved to be effective also in treating people with NPD. It involves scaling. Individuals are scaling on how they can manage it. And then you have psychoeducation. Psychoeducation is like what I'm now. I'm psychoeducating the public NPD so that they can be able to identify some of these symptoms and recommend individuals to seek psychological assistance. So pharmacotherapy is used, mood stabilizers and SSRIs. SSRIs are a group of antidepressants that are used in the management of depression and anxiety disorders. SSRI means selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for mood and sleep. So when serotonin is down, these individuals take SSRIs to prevent the absorption in the gap between one brain cell to another. So sometimes they're used, especially because people with NPD are at risk for depression. As you have seen, they are also at risk for SUDs. See to the next slide as I wind up.
Hello, Mr. John.
Yes.
Thank you very much. But we were hearing you very bad.
Thank you. Do you have a question?
I'm not sure if Isaac is trying to communicate about the audio. It's still a bit low, kiasi.
Okay. I'm inquiring about questions.
Oh, okay. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask John. You can raise your hand. Maybe as our people are preparing themselves to ask questions, I can start with one that we got from the people who are able to sign up for the session. There's one question that somebody asked: are narcissists born or made?
Yeah, so this is a very good question. And the right response to that is that in both cases, it's a combination of two factors. Genetics plus environment. For example, someone without a narcissistic background maybe is even by a parent or a guardian with narcissistic tendencies, is likely to introduce the attributes, and then they might make them narcissistic, to have narcissistic tendencies. But both factors, genetics and environment, interact to make up a narcissist.
Okay. Do we have any other questions, perhaps? Feel free to raise your hand and ask. I saw like for many of us, we had a lot of questions. This is your opportunity to ask John the questions you have concerning what you've learned about or what you're curious about narcissism. Let us see. And Njoroge, do you have any questions perhaps for John?
Hello, none from me. Okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I think.
Yes, John.
Maybe you can proceed to the next slide to the wind up. I'm going to share my details, so in case you have a question, you can always talk to me, and we can see how I can answer your question. So I already have recommendations by the end of my training. Excuse. So I will recommend you try to understand narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism by you can watch a series with you. You're going to learn about two particular personality disorder: narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, which encompasses psychopathy. Because the guy on your screen who is holding a book is clearly a psychopath from what you're going to see once you start watching the series. The other thing you can do is read a book by Thomas Erickson called Surrounded by Narcissists. It will also give you a good understanding of all the things I've captured in my presentation. It's a very, very good book. I think that is the first slide. My profile, are you going to receive a copy of these presentation slides? Maryanne is going to organize that. And that's the end of my presentation. I'm a writer, currently writing a book, working on an idea on a book on how to be dangerous. And the idea behind the power is having the power to define your life, having dominion of your life, commanding your life with confidence, authority. That's the idea that is behind my idea book. So I read Art for Study, currently writing a series on this to help understand my background. So you can always visit my LinkedIn Instagram. That's where I post my articles on a weekly basis. Thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate it. Back to you, Maryanne.
Wow. Thank you so much, John, for the wonderful presentation. Yes, thank you. Please clap for John. Please clap using the emojis on your screen. Let us appreciate our speaker for today. We really have learned a lot. I was just listening to some of those attributes, and you will mention some of the things that we feel like we connect with them. There are some of them that I felt I connect with, and I felt umekuza mahali. But it is good to have awareness of these things, and it is like you have said, there's the diagnostic criteria for narcissism. So I hope at the end of this presentation, we won't, we are not living here feeling like, ay, ninatoka hapa kama mimi ni narcissist. Hapana, you are not. It requires a good diagnosis from a psychiatrist like we've had. And we really want to take this time to appreciate you, John. Asante sana. And with there's somebody who is going to be there to share with Janet. Perhaps you can help me share the details of where people can find John, the links to his social media platforms. Like you can see right there, he's on LinkedIn and he also has a Facebook page. I genuinely love and appreciate the posts he makes on LinkedIn. Actually it's LinkedIn and Facebook. But on LinkedIn, there are very interesting articles that he posts. And John, like you've seen, he's a mental health trainer and he's also a researcher. And he does his job. He doesn't just show up and think things out of the thin air. He does his research and he comes on and shares and educates people on mental health issues. So if you'd like to connect with him, I want to ask Janet to please kindly share the links to his social media platforms. You can be able to connect with him there. There's also the link to I think our WhatsApp group, our WhatsApp platform, where we are going to be sharing the link to the video after we have been able to work on it and edit it. We are going to upload it. And we're going to share it on YouTube. So if you'd like a link to that and also the PowerPoint presentation notes, because I know there are some of us who are like, I never nitapata notes. Yes, you will get the notes. I have them and we are going to be sharing them with you right there in the WhatsApp group. We are going to share the place where you can be able to sign up so that you can send them to you via email. It is very important for us to have your information so that we can be able to reach out to you, and you can also let us know if you are interested in learning more about mental health, because we have this is not just the only forum that we are having. We have them weekly, and so if you'd like to be in tune and be able to be notified when we have them, please, we are going to share those details in our WhatsApp forum. So please, Janet, you can share that link there. If you can check your chat box, I think I have pinned that message there. You can find it there. And I don't know, do we have any other person who has a question before we close? We can give like 2 more people who have a question or feedback for John. What have you learned? I don't know whether I call you by name, I chokoza you. Do I call you out or do you want to raise your hands? Because I can see there are amazing people here. I'm seeing them for the very first time. And let us have 2 people. Let us hear your voice. Let us hear your voice. Let us hear from, let's see. Sarah Mutsami, are you there? Tukuchokoze kidogo. Please say something. Sarah, are you there? Hata kama utasalimia watu. Okay, Sarah is still unmuting. We can't hear you, Sarah. Maybe we can hear from, let's see. I want to be gender balanced. We have heard from, I am not sure. Do we hear from Isaac? Isaac, do you have something that you'd like to say, perhaps? You can unmute yourself. Okay. Isaac is still unmuting. Let us see if we can find somebody else. John, perhaps John, you can say something. You have been with us from the very beginning of the session. Please say something. Okay, yes, Isaac. Isaac, you want to say something?
Oh no, I just want to thank Mr. John for the presentation. You also originally, and we will meet on the next connect. Thank you too.
Okay, thank you so much. And also thank you for joining us. I thank you, Shukuru. Let us hear from one other person. It is important that you hear your voices. Let me see if I can find somebody else. Asmail, I don't know if Asmail is still here with us. Okay, if not Asmail, then Magdalene. Magdalene Wambui, would you like to say something?
Sure. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm grateful for the session. I've learned a lot, like types of narcissists. And one thing that motivated me to join the meeting is the catchy topic. Excuse me. The catchy topic and the poster. I liked the poster, how it was designed, and the topic. Am I really a narcissist or something like that? So I'm grateful, John. I know him from way back in campus and his passion in research. So keep up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. John, do you want to say something? Okay, I can see the emojis. Okay, thank you so much, Magdalene, for your time and also coming on here and for the feedback about the poster and the session. I hope we have delivered. I believe we have. And also thank you for also, I also want to thank John because it's because of him that you are here. So asante sana, and I hope that we'll continue connecting even in the WhatsApp group. I can see Janet has already shared those details in our WhatsApp. In the chat box. So I want to conclude the session and I just want to remind us that we are having a masterclass on this Thursday and we are extending the courtesy to those people who are here that will be talking about emotions. One of the emotions that we have seen and we have heard about even during the presentation is that when it comes to engaging with people who are narcissistic, you can become emotionally drained. And sometimes it's not limited to narcissists or engaging with narcissists, but especially like right now, there's a lot of hopelessness and there's that air of hopelessness and people are really struggling to find their place in the world. And so out of that, we decided to have a masterclass and we're having one this Thursday. We have titled it, Why Am I Too Emotional? Because we understand I can relate with being an empath. So I created this masterclass. We are creating this masterclass for you so that you can be able to understand the overwhelming emotions such as or feelings like anxiety, depression, and anger. Because we realize there's a lot of emotional issues and people are bottling in a lot of emotions within, and we want you guys to feel safe enough to express your emotions and find a healthy way to express those bottled up emotions so that you can become emotionally healthy and achieve emotional mastery. And so with that, we are having the masterclass this Thursday. It's Kesho Kutwa. And we are, for those people who attended the webinar, we are extending a discount of 500 Kenya shillings. So if you just have 500 Kenya shillings, instead of paying the 1,000 that is right here, you can be able to access the masterclass, the course. You can be able to come share the questions that you may be having. You come and learn. And at the end of the session, we are going to give you access to the recording, to the class recording, and the notes are going to be shared and you'll have access to those notes forever. So you're free to come back to them over and over again. So like I will also request Janet, I'm sure she has already shared in the chat box. If you're interested in joining us, there are those payment details that are right there and you can be able to join us this Thursday. And in case of any questions, you can be able to ask us directly. And so with that said, I want to say thank you so much for all of you who have been able to join us. Even if you weren't able to join in from the very beginning of the session, no worries, we got you. We have recorded the session, so we are going to send you, for those people who will join our WhatsApp group, and we are going to share the link to registration, where we are going to get your details, your email details, and we are going to share the link to the presentation, and also the PowerPoint presentation notes by John. And with that said, I also want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to come on here tonight. We are having these webinars every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So if you'd like to join us, join our WhatsApp group so that you can be able to be notified. And yes, they are free. The webinars are free. The masterclasses is where we get to charge a little bit, so that you can be able to get the best out of what we are serving you guys. So if you really want to be in tune, the next session, I want to give a hint. It's going to be about relationships and maybe about dating, about compatibility, and about red flags. So if you're interested, you can join our WhatsApp group, and you will be able to see the poster, and you'll see the details about our guest and all of that. And you can be able to receive the access to the session. And I just want to take this time to thank you, John, for the wonderful presentation. We really appreciate you. We value you. Please follow his social media platform, guys. He is exactly what he says he is. He's that mental health trainer and researcher. He does his job, and we appreciate you. I want to thank you guys who have been here, and also those people who have not been able to join up to the very last minute. A special shout out to you, Sarah, to you, John, that is Waiva, to you, Janet, to you, Magdalene, to you, John Wanjiru, our guest. Is there somebody else I'm leaving out? I don't think so. But for those of us who have been able to stay up to the very end, asanteni sana. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and hopefully we will see you in the WhatsApp group. Please don't be a stranger. And with that said, we have come to the very end of the session. In case of anything, please reach out to us, and we will see you then. Asanteni sana, and may you have a lovely evening. We will see you next week, God willing. Kwaheri. You're free to leave.